So as of recently, I've had a lot of questions thrown at me as to why I choose to be an agnostic atheist, or my main question is, why do I choose atheism in general, from religious folks? And in case you don't know my backstory on YouTube, and maybe you're a new subscriber of mine, I started on YouTube as a very religious person quite a few years ago, and I actually made videos originally on YouTube as a way to express religious concern of people going to hell. That video is no longer on my channel for the obvious reason, but it's still interesting because you can see my entire religious transition on my channel from almost 4 years ago all the way up until now, and I've grown tremendously as a person. Because when I first came to YouTube, I was going through a lot of difficult stuff in terms of religion. I was struggling with my faith. I was going through, I left the church for many different reasons. If you've watched my older videos, you'd know why I left the church. And it was just a really bad situation that I was in, and I used YouTube as an outlet to express my religious concern for others. And in doing so, I eventually turned to converting out of theism, the belief in a god, to deism, which is still the belief in a god, but a belief in a god that does not intervene in people's lives. So God just said, I'm going to create the world, and I'm going to leave you there. That's it. God doesn't do anything. That's what a deist believes. A lot of our founding fathers, who actually wrote the Constitution, they were deists, and I was a deist for almost 8 months. But the common question is, Daniel, why do you choose atheism? And it's really a simple answer, because it makes sense to me. All throughout my life growing up within a religious household, within the church, I always felt like I was never myself. I never liked who I was. In fact, for the majority of my life, and I'm just now starting to realize this, I hated myself, and I'm still right now fighting to get over that self-hatred that I had for myself, because I hated who I was. I hated the religious version of me, because not only was I judgmental, I was very mean to people when I was religious, but I was very forceful and condemning of everyone. And after I've left religion, and even my own religious parents pointed this out to me, after I've left the church and left religion, I have been more tolerant and more loving and more caring and more open and more understanding to people than I ever have been in my life. My own religious conservative parents said that to me, that they've seen a difference in me since I've left religion. And for that, I am proud. But basically, I hated myself when I was religious. I felt so repressed in so many different things. Because in the church that I grew up, sex wasn't really talked about. I was 14, 15. I didn't really know a whole lot about sex. I didn't know how to talk to women. I didn't really know a whole lot about anything because I grew up majority of my life being homeschooled, which was another problem. So I grew up in a Christian household, which I have great, awesome parents. I'm not bashing my parents or anything, but I sucked at homeschooling. I just did terrible at it. I think I would have grown much better. I would have grown a lot more if I had been in an actual public school, because I have a speech impediment and I have a learning disability, so that makes it a lot harder, and I think that's why my parents tried to keep me at home, because they knew if I was put in public school, I would have been heavily bullied for my slurred speech and many other things. Which is ironic, because if you don't know my story of my religious story, I was bullied heavily in the church that I used to attend all throughout my life. At age 6, all the way up until literally age 18, I attended this church where I had people bully me and make fun of me and call me fat little faggot and all sorts of little things. Because when I was younger at that church, I was a chubby little guy. I had terrible speech. I had freckles, really bad freckles, to the point of it looked like pieces of dirt and pimples on my face. And I was heavily bullied at that place. And I was trying to always fit in with this so-called religious group of guys who were supposedly Christians, yet their things that they would say and do, and especially to me and others, were nothing Christian-like, nothing Christ-like, nothing in terms of what Christianity represented. And I was deeply hurt by my past church for many other reasons, and if you've watched my videos, you'll know exactly why, and some of the things that happened within the old church, which I'm not going to explain in this video because I don't like talking about it. But my point is that I was very repressed in everything, whether it be sexuality, whether it be, masturbation's a sin. If you do it, you're going to go to hell. It's wrong. You can't lust. You can't like a girl if you can't just so many rules and regulations that I felt I went through a very deep depression. In fact, through one of my experience that had happened to me, I developed anxiety and an anxiety disorder and a chronic depression. I developed it from a certain experience that happened to me. And from that experience, a lot of my I've been in a very deep depression. I go through very deep stages of depression throughout my life, especially when I get down. And when I left the church, that was one of those times. Because I was so confused with all my beliefs and conflicting opinions and people telling me that I'm not a true Christian or that I really never loved God because I did this or this happened to me or because this happened to me, God wanted this to happen to me to help me grow as a Christian. And when I think back to that stuff, that's such bullshit. I mean, God hurts you in order to help you grow. That's terrible. That's not a God of love if that's what he does. If that's his method of trying to help people get closer to him by having them get hurt and nearly committing suicide, in fact, attempting to commit suicide and nearly died, that's not really something I'd consider a loving God would do, but whatever. I was told by religious folks that, God works in miraculous and mysterious ways, and maybe he was using those experiences to make you a stronger Christian, Daniel. Which is ironic because now I'm not a Christian anymore and I'm not religious. What was interesting, though, is that through my very deep depressed state, that after I left religion and after I started questioning my religious beliefs and such, I started to feel more free. After I left religion completely, and I made a video on my channel saying goodbye to religion. That video is still on my channel to this day, and that was my announcement to where I left religion for good. Like, I wanted nothing to do with God, I wanted nothing to do with religion, I wanted nothing to do with the church, I wanted nothing to do with that. Still on my channel, saying goodbye to religion. Very good, one of my favorite videos because I can see when I made that video, something happened to me that pissed me off so much, and I got hurt so bad yet again by the church that I just couldn't take it anymore. I was like, I'm done. I'm walking away from this for good. And so far, that has been my religious journey. It's really sad, though, because I have a lot of religious people who I still know right now who have told me that now that I'm an atheist, I have no meaning for life, that I have no hope, that there's no reason for me to do anything. In fact, I've been told that I'm going to live a more depressed life while I'm an atheist than I was when I was a Christian. And you know what I say to that? That's bullshit. That's a load of horseshit, and you and me know that. You know how we know that? Because since I've left religion completely, I feel more free, more open, and I like who I am. I can finally talk about masturbation publicly. I can make references to sex without having to fear the religious group that I was associated with condemning me to hell, saying that I was going to burn for saying and talking about these things, which are completely natural things for us humans to do. Sexuality's natural. Masturbation's natural. Sex is natural. And it's just a lot of these things I was just repressed from growing up. And it was really interesting because I remember I had a conversation with TJ, the Amazing Atheist, over Skype. After I left religion, he started asking me why I was still holding on to some of my religious beliefs. Because even after I left religion, I was still clinging to a lot of my beliefs. If you have sex before marriage, that's wrong, sin, and you're a bad person, and I'm going to judge you because you had sex before marriage. Even after I left religion, I still held a lot of my religious views. And I remember how kind and how nice the TJ was, and he was basically telling me, why am I clinging on to these beliefs? I need to move off of them so I can feel and be myself and be more free. And he said it in the nicest way possible, not judgmental, not criticizing me, but it made me think that about myself and my position that I was holding even after I left religion, because after I left religion, I was still trying to hold on to bits and pieces of the stuff that I knew and pull it along with me, when in reality I need to cut the ropes completely. Basically, that's my entire story. I left a lot of information out, and all that information can be found in some of my earlier videos. But the main reason I'm making this video is why I choose atheism is because it makes sense to me. I can be who I am, I can feel free, I can like who I am now, but most of all, I can live in reality. I can live in reality where I don't have to worry about these supernatural, metaphysical things, which I don't even know if they exist or not. And I don't have to worry and fear condemnation from other Christians and religious folks, but most of all, that the concept of hell is nothing to me anymore. I don't care. And even if a God does exist, I don't care. Because I know who I am now, and I love who I am. And it took a lot of pain and a lot of trials for me to get to this place in my life, but I can truly say that I'm happy where I am, and I have more hope now than I ever did. Now, I'll make a video in the future expanding on what I mean by hope, because there's a common claim among Christians that atheists can't have hope, and I'm going to attempt to refute that. But basically, I'm leaving for Africa in May. Yes, I'm leaving for Africa. I'm going to be building houses, and I'm an atheist. I'm an atheist going to another place to build houses for people in poverty. I don't need God in order to do that. I don't need religion in order for me to be someone who can help other people and serve other people and make a difference in our fucked up world, because we have to admit our world is pretty fucked up with a lot of the things that happen right now, especially in America. And I'm glad that I can be who I am, and I love who I am, but most of all, I can be myself without God. That's why I'm an atheist, because I live in reality, not a fantasy. Thank you for watching.